But without any more introduction, let's get into what exactly we did in June. So, Jabari, we're going to start with the launch party. That was Friday, June 6th, 5:30 to 8. And for those who might be unfamiliar, thank you for the heart. For those who might be unfamiliar, what was this launch party and why do we have it?
Yeah, so the launch party was essentially for everyone who's been with the AI Collective for the past few months. We were the Gen AI Collective, which you might have heard me slip up there.
Formerly, yeah.
And we did a rebranding essentially, and that was the official launch of this rebranding, as well as a few other cool things that are going on, like the Institute, which is supposed to be focused on policy, as well as a few other cool features that you all should definitely go to our website to learn more about. But there was a whole week where we kind of slowly released content related to it, and culminating at the end of the week with a launch party of just saying, "Hey, thank you for being with us," and people who like shared it online got to be a part of our founding members and were involved with the whole process. Um,
Yeah, and what exactly was the launch party for DC specifically? I know there were some demos involved. I know Catherine talked. Can you give a bit more insight on what we did?
Yeah, so we essentially just got people who are curious about the AI Collective or have been to our events before, of course, and just got to see what was happening with the AI Collective now. And we had like lots of food. One of our staff or one of our team members like made a whole charcuterie board that everyone got to partake in.
That was
Uh,
Liel, right?
yes,
Yeah, that
Leo.
looked amazing. Yeah, I should include that in our next post.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And we had like drinks and refreshments as well as Catherine presenting for us and a live demo that happened like in person in real time there. It was just a good way for everyone to connect and be aligned with what the AI Collective is going to do moving forward.
Right, and the demo was done by our friends at Trustable, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So Trustable is a local DC responsible AI startup. We've had them twice now on the podcast. First, we just had John, who is their director of product and policy council. And then we had John again with their CTO and co founder, Andrew. And we broke down the Stanford AI Index report. So it was great to collaborate again with Trustable. And they've been doing great work across different conferences in DC and elsewhere, also promote a lot of thought leadership on their own Substack, which you should check out. That's Trustibble, Trustable, and excited that they were able to demo their new products there. Jabari, specifically for you at that launch party, what memorable conversations did you have? Anything that you felt like were particularly striking, or only this would happen in DC moments for yourself?
Yeah, I think what was really impactful was hearing about how people want something new in the area when it comes to networking, especially around tech. I think there's a lot of tech networking events where you just kind of go in, you meet someone, and then it goes nowhere. There's a lot of people that I've seen at these events over and over again, and we've kind of become friends. And that's something that I feel like is really hard to do outside of this particular space where it's just inviting and you can be curious and just, get to ask questions or talk about what you really enjoy.
And what makes the AI Collective's DC chapter tech events different from the plethora of other tech events in DC? How are you able to go to our specific events and make those friendships like you mentioned?
Yeah, I think that we really promote curiosity above all else, regardless of what your relation to AI is. It's literally just what whatever it is that you're thinking about it, as long as it's AI related, come join, talk to some people that are also curious about it. And there's no like wrong questions or no bad questions. These are all things that people are curious about, people want to know more about, and we're cultivating that in DC where I think it's very easy to feel like you have to know everything before you step in the room. And we've kind of lowered that barrier, which just brings a very different community that I don't think you can really find anywhere else here.
Right. And like with all events, there's always something that does not go to plan or maybe goes slightly awry. So I'm curious from your perspective, helping organize, was there anything with the launch party that needed to be improvised or we needed to shift gears fast? But any funny moments that you can recall for the launch party?
Yeah, I think what was the most like, of course, every event that I host, I want it to go perfectly. Yeah. But I think what really stuck out was that we needed more like hands. So it was like we wanted to have someone just like walk people over when we first were there, but we just didn't have enough people. So we kind of improvised having people like go over, greet people, and then like at some point we just had a sign when we felt like the center of mass of like people who were gonna come were there already. So it was just figuring out how to do things numbers wise to make sure that it all, worked out in the end.
Right. And I see that Catherine has joined as an attendee, so I'm gonna have her join now as a co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, Catherine McMillan with the fashionably late entrance back home. And ladies and gentlemen, she is our founding director of the AI Collective. Catherine, we're just recapping the AI launch party. And Jabari was talking about how there were so many people coming that there needed to be some improvisation on how to get people to the actual space. So I just wanted to continue on that for a little bit. I see that we had 187 guests who registered as going. That's not even how many we invited. But given that number in mind, 187, first, how many people actually went, and second, that's our largest event, right? That's the biggest event we've done as a chapter so far, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest one to date. Second largest was probably our AI Insiders event where we had around 60 people who came. So it's a fantastic turnout. It was meant to be a party. More is more. Um, of course, not like overdoing the fire limit capacity, but there's plenty of rooftop space. There's plenty of lounge area space for everyone.
Awesome. Let's now move to our third soiree that we hosted on Tuesday, June 10th. And this soiree was focused on first, the proposed 10-year AI regulation ban that's being passed around in Congress, and second, the displacement of white collar jobs due to AI. And before I start asking more questions, just want to remind our loyal audience, thank you for showing up at this time. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and also the like button if you feel compelled to do so. So we go from launch party to AI soiree. So, Catherine, I'm going to start with you here. What makes a soiree different in terms of the conversation and opportunities to connect compared to that massive launch party that we go from?
It's a lot more intimate. So we cap registration at 30 with the expectation that 20 to 25 will come. So it's like 70% yield or higher on it. Whereas with larger events, spray and pray, you get as many people as possible, and you'll probably expect like 50-ish%, 50 to 60. The other thing about the soiree is that we come prepared with a couple of topics that we want to discuss in community. And one of the great things is that we curate the group so that there's a lot of diverse perspectives. I know in my conversation, there were founders, there were lawyers, there were developers and people on the policy side. And how many times do they have the opportunity to be in the same room together, given they all work at different places? They probably all have different friend groups. So I think the fact that we can unify is really what makes this event different. Of course, like the bigger event is very inclusive, but it doesn't have that like intimacy aspect of it.
For sure. I can vouch for that too. I remember at our second soiree, AI Utopia or Dystopia, I was in a group with a lot of biomedical people, or maybe there are just some presences that felt very large in that space, and that could not be farther from my industry, unless I do something quite drastic with my workload and intellect level on that. I mean that in a good way to the biomedical people, of course, but that is exactly the point. It's meant to be a diverse room of people, of perspectives, and I think we've been able to do that every time. Jabari, when you were at the soiree, I'm curious on either of these topics, either the proposed 10-year AI regulation ban, and that's only for state and local AI regulations, not the federal level, and also fears of the displacement of white collar jobs due to AI. What insights did people have who attended? What were their feelings on it? What what were they feeling? What were they thinking on these topics?
Yeah, great question. I was in a different group than Catherine, and mine had like a very broad range of people like who were working with AI, from like startup founders who were like working with AI with their day to day, to like journalists who were worried about their like jobs being impacted negatively. Um, there were people who were also very involved with policy. Liel is one of them, who's like a part of the institute with the AI collective. And she had way more perspective that I'm not going to be able to effectively communicate, since I'm more of a more like developer technical person. But I did get to see a lot of the like unease and uncertainty of like how policy is just a bit slow and potentially going to be stalled for the next 10 years. How there's a lot of uncertainty on like what people's jobs even look like in the next year or next 6 months, just because the speed that AI is like changing and developing, and there's no real like guardrails or anything to make sure that people transition easily. So it was very nice to see like the broad range of perspectives outside of just, well, software engineers are being replaced, or there's you don't need as many of them for a company. I'm just saying like what happens if a whole industry gets like removed, or like that job doesn't exist anymore, is very. I was glad to be in the room to hear other people's like perspectives.
Right. And Catherine, I know you've been traveling recently as part of your duties of being founding director. I'm curious, do you see other chapters, like the Toronto chapter, for example, that are producing these similar type of soiree spaces, or is this still mostly a DC chapter specific type of gathering? What's your take on that?
I think the positioning, like the branding of it is very unique to DC, but the format itself, living room conversations, have been done in Chicago, San Francisco, I think also Miami, and of course DC. We've done over 250 events, so pardon me. I don't know all the events that have happened everywhere in the
I'm gonna
world.
ask ChatGPT. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Chappie to add a feature for that to our database. But the beautiful thing about our chapter model is that the local ecosystem kind of shapes the local culture of that chapter. There are certain event types that cascade across chapters, like for example, the demo nights or even like the living room conversations that we talk about. But there's other type of events that are very unique to the industries and ecosystems of the home city. So Toronto, though, oh my God, I was in Toronto for their tech week. I was absolutely blown away. Everyone's like New York Tech Week, this and that. Sleeping on Toronto, it's the same time of flight from DC, like an hour and a half, super easy. Um, there was just a wash of different activities and events, and we had a record 3 consecutive AI collective events in a row: Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So and each of them were so different. We had the award ceremony for the Lovable Hackathon that we had on Sunday, US versus Canada. Canada won. Um, then Monday was Unstoppable Woman in AI and Engineering. It was a panel conversation with truly like the most unstoppable woman you can imagine. And Tuesday was Breakfast with Catherine, where people just came to have breakfast with me and the Toronto team. And we had about like 25 people show up to that. So there's just so much variety and creativity that our chapters can imbue into their local ecosystem.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm curious for this soiree and wrapping up the soiree talk, how did this one compare to the previous two we had done earlier in the year? And the only thing I could think of was how cold it was for both of those. But how did this one compare? Do you think we have a formula that we're just continuing to work on, or has there been more drastic changes between each of the different soirees?
I think we're refining it. Like each time there's one small improvement that we can make in the facilitation and the overall experience that we deliver to our guests. Something that I think that we did well for this one was recognize that we didn't necessarily need to do 2 discussion groups. Um, how people kind of wanted to keep talking and having conversation. And when we brought everyone together, it was kind of like almost like you were in a seminar class in college where it was like back and forth conversation. Liel was talking about the 10-year ban on AI policies, and we just brought so many different perspectives from the room together. Jabari was there for that, so he can attest to that. It's really no one size does not fit all because every event will be different because each event has different people attending the event that bring in different perspectives and backgrounds and even personalities too. So
Yeah.
it's just adaptation. We just kind of work with what we have in the moment and adapt as we go. But so far, I think we've gotten a couple of reps. So since it's been operationalized, we don't have to do anything crazy like, well, I did revamp the graphics for this one, but like those things in terms of setting up the Luma page, the messaging, the marketing, we got that done. So it's just
Right.
getting easier over time.
Right. And on that note, Kadra talked about all of the different events that our chapters across the world are doing and the way to find all of those events because one of the most transient cities, I think, is DC. So half of us are here, half of us aren't at any given time, especially in the summer. All you have to do is go to Luma, that's Luma, find the AI Collective's event page, and you'll be able to see all the events happening. So if you're in Miami, if you're in Toronto, if you're in India, if you're in Poland, Luma will be your friend for that, and you'll be able to find awesome AI events as part of our collective wherever you are in the world or most places. I'm sure we'll eventually have one in every city. I'm sure
Antarctica.
that's eventually the goal. Yes, Antarctica, space, Mars. It's only going to go up from here, literally. All right, closing out the soirée talk, that was 35 guests invited. Now we'll move on to our second of three Notion events that we're holding to promote Notion Mail. So I'm point person on these. I'm also a Notion ambassador in addition to my position as creative director on the chapter. So I'll kick us off. And since Catherine and Jabari were there, I will get your guys' input as well. Please feel free to be as candid as you want with the feedback as always. But this was our second Notion event out of three in Box Intelligence. We had our first Notion event back in May, and my job there was to introduce both Notion, which is a productivity tool that both individuals and organizations can use. And then I was introducing Notion's latest product, which is Notion Mail, which is a Notionized way of using your inbox. And we had fun there, I assume. So we came back for round two, and this time our Notion Mail event was all about actually utilizing Notion and Notion Mail. So what I did was I created an escape room within Notion, and I had people group up in groups of three. One was a creator of sorts, one was a navigator, and one was a communicator. And through using Notion Mail, each team found a phrase that ended up being "make with clarity," since "make with Notion" is a common phrase among the community. And then the team made a Notion page of what that phrase meant to them using a few different block types. And Notion has several different block types. Everything basic from just switching to a bigger heading to integrating Google Drive, integrating Figma, doing APIs. It kind of runs the gamut. And that was definitely an experiment. So, Catherine, I know that you were able to be part of a group for at least a bit of time. So, I'm curious, before we get into more of the stats and the logistics, what was your feel on the receiving end of the 6 year event for Notion Part 2?
Yeah, candidly, I had to step out for a meeting, hashtag PST timing, because a lot of our team is in San Francisco, West Coast. So I had to step out right in the middle of it. But um, I think for me, as someone who is unofficially or like self-diagnosed ADHD, instructions are a challenge for me. It's just I see multiple instructions and like that's a lot. If it's more than two things, that's too many things. So I just kind of, you know, learn by doing it. Everyone's different. Some people like the structure, but yeah, for me, it was like, whoa, this is a lot of information. Appreciated you kind of doubling down and explaining it again, making sure the audience felt like it wasn't confusing. But ultimately, people learn by doing. That's what I believe. So people getting their hands in is the best way to do it. Beyond that, I have no idea what else happened. It's just like I've totally forgotten. But yeah, from the first bit, that's what I took away from
Well,
it.
yeah, I saw that you were talking to people afterwards. So were people generally in a good mood? They felt like the
Oh yeah.
event had gone well. They weren't
Oh, people
never
were
coming
lingering.
back.
The conversations were flowing before. I think everyone felt warmly welcomed by our team, which is something that I emphasize at every single event to that this is a true community. You can talk to anyone. Everyone is very friendly and approachable. And then on the way out, Jeff had to kick us out. Like, sorry guys, shutting this thing down. And we're like, okay, Jeff, sounds good. So we stepped outside and we were just mingling out a little bit more. That's the true testament of a good event is that people linger or even go to a secondary location together, the after party. Um, so yeah, I think these events always just bring the best people together, and seeing them make new connections is just the highlight of my role, I'd say.
Yes, for sure. And shout out to Jeff Hale, who is our contact at Prefect, who allows us to use the space for our Notion demos, which gives me a very helpful big screen that you might have seen in previous Substack posts, and just the space for people to congregate. And this was 46 guests who registered us going, and we ended up with about 20, and that was the expected amount as well. Jabari, I'm curious because you do use Notion, and I know Captain uses Notion too, but I know Jabari also uses Notion. What were your thoughts on the event? How did you see people engaging and going forth with the escape room?
Yeah, I think I love the event. I think that also we have to take a step to say Sam essentially taught a class um, with an interactive demo, and that is really intense to do. From someone who's like done live demos that are interactive, that is so stressful, and he pulled it off
It can
very
be.
well. I think
Thanks.
most of the teams wound up were able to finish the escape room by the end of it.
Yeah.
And like Catherine said, there was so many people who like just wanted to keep talking and enjoyed the atmosphere that Sam created that we literally got kicked out of the venue space because they needed to close down. So I think that's just a testament to like how well the event was run and how, Sam incorporated like Notion and making it an easy way to just get people to communicate and teach them about it because most people weren't Notion users there.
Yes, and thank you. That's also super nice to you, Jabari. That's what I've learned the most, I think, from the past two events is that I think the most challenging thing is that you're entering a room where everybody has like differing skill levels with Notion. Like Jabari mentioned, some people have never used Notion before, and then others are like very long time users. Most are somewhere in the middle. But I think gamifying it, which is a very common idea in tech, especially, for better for worse. I mean, there's some negative effects to gamifying too much, but a healthy amount, such as connecting something that can be abstract or thought about in just like an organizational way, like Notion, with something quite tangible and fun for a lot of people, like an escape room. You at least get something messy, beautiful, imperfect. Those are the words I'm sure I'll be describing Lord's album when it comes out tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. And now I've actually had some Notion ambassadors from other countries asking me for a template. So I will now be creating an escape room template, hopefully soon. And this is a little fun fact. It's not an excuse. It's just more context. But as Jabari mentioned, sometimes planning these live demos can be challenging. I was dealing with like a mild concussion going into it, as Catherine knows. But the screen time that I put into it, I think was just enough where we could troubleshoot a lot of things as we actually did the event. And again, just messy, beautiful, imperfect. Laura's new album tomorrow, if anybody's interested, let's putting that out there one more time.
Not
And
sponsored.
not sponsored for now, but Lord's still so cool. I could see her sponsoring us. Um, and then I was also really excited to announce a new perk of the community, which was through my relationship with Notion. We are able to offer startups 3 months of Notion AI and Notion Business for free. And you can do the calculation yourself on Notion's website that ideally should save you thousands and thousands of dollars as a startup. But this is a brand new deal and it's through my affiliate link. I do get a small commission for every approved sign up, but I'm super excited to have announced that. And we will continue to be putting that link in this show description in future initiatives. One that I'm actually about to pitch Jabari and Catherine. They don't know that yet, but I guess now they can be on the radar for that. But we have really exciting ways that we think startups can take advantage of this. Most of my interviews so far for the DC community have been startups, and they have been the ones that have been most proactive in reaching out, and also a big part of our gatherings, and really one of the backbones of the AI Collective's DC community. So it feels nice to give support in this specific way. And of course, I am always happy to answer any questions people have, but the link will be there. Please take advantage of it. I wish I could just have 3 months of Notion AI for free. And there's like drilling going on now, so I hope that's not being too disruptive. But there's no notice of that. So as I mute myself temporarily, Catherine, Jabari, do you want to give a look forward on what we can expect in the community for the next month? And I'll also talk about the upcoming Notion event, but go for it while I mute myself.
Jabari, me, who do
I guess I
me?
can go
Jabari,
first.
then Catherine. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think for a lot of you, if you haven't met me before, you probably will see a lot of me, just because I'll probably be at most of the events. Expect a lot more, events in general to be happening with the DC chapter, as well as more opportunities to just get involved with us here. Something that I know has been a bit difficult is just figuring out ways to get involved, and we're definitely like streamlining that pipeline just so that way, if you want to just come for an event and help set things up, or if you have a great idea where you're like, I think that this particular event is great and fantastic and I want to help host, we can also like set those things up as well.
Yeah, exactly what Jabari said, volume and also more engagement with the community that wants to play a bigger role. And there's certainly no shortage of things to do. If you ask me, there's no shortage of things that needs to happen. And we're just grateful for all of the people that are contributing to the community and really the movement that we're creating. Oh, the other thing I'll say about the DC chapter is we're having a heads down strategy session this Saturday. 2 hours, we're locked in. There's going to be lunch. It's going to be great. Ideas will be flowing. Tonight, you know, we're not done yet, folks. Like, I have a couple more hours tonight working on things, my DC chapter obligations. Um, Setting us up for success for the Saturday strategy, and also making sure that we can prepare the team to provide feedback about where we are right now and what the ambitious goals that we collectively have for the future. And then between those things, what is the path to success for DC to be one of the center of gravities for the AI conversation, not just in the policy, but in the industry and the innovation side. So be on the lookout. And if you want to get involved, likely if you reach out to me, I will route you to Jabari. So, FYI. But if you have a bold idea, I mean, I guess like we have 9 people watching right now, and people check this afterwards. If you have a bold idea, if you have agency, if you are a self starter, there will always be a way for you to get more involved and have more responsibility faster. That just needs to be communicated very clearly to me. Um, then that's pretty much it. That's my pitch for that. Oh, Sam, we can't hear you. Nope. We can do some mouse reading though. Oh, something's okay.
Yeah, it's because the Substack audio, uh, because Substack like yourself, it doesn't like slash the mic. So I thought I was still on, but can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
Okay, great. Okay, great. This live's gonna take more editing than I would have hoped, but that's okay. I was gonna edit it anyways. our last Notion event of this series will be late July. It'll be on one of those Thursdays. We'll put it on Luma once we have it all ready to go. It'll still be at the prefect location and it will be about what's next. So I know Jabari is interested in doing a Notion demo. We'll follow up about that. I am working to potentially secure somebody from the Notion Mail team to talk to us and address any of
Whoa!
our concerns. This is all tentative, nothing guaranteed yet, but
Getting them
yes,
flying out here to DC?
they will be zooming in, but
Oh, that's
maybe
okay.
next time, maybe next time we can get them at another a bigger event. But I'm super excited for that to potentially happen because I think that the Notion team's also been great about communicating to at least us as ambassadors. And I'd love to just stop being a middleman for a second and have people directly talk to somebody who's working on the product that a lot of us really enjoy. So that would be really cool. And I'm working hard to get that secured. But yeah, just echoing Catherine Jabari, I think this chapter isn't even a year old, but we've done so much. We've done, I think, like 10 plus events at this point. This podcast is now over 650 subscribers, largely due to the efforts of the organizers and getting people to go to the events and be looped into the community. And we've done Notion events, and we're just going to keep going, starting with our really big strategy session this Saturday. I didn't know lunch was included, so now I think that'll increase turnout hopefully. But overall, I think it was a pretty successful June. Do you guys have any last thoughts or sentiments about how our June went before we head into July? We can do Catherine and then Jabari.
June was a month of reflection for me about what my role will be and how do I show up in the way that I need to for my home chapter as well as for the entire organization. In terms of how DC showed up for the AI Collective rebrand and launch week, it was just incredible the amount of support that was outpouring. And so, huge thank you to everyone who believes in us and isn't a part of the movement. And yeah, it wouldn't be possible without all of you. So,
True.
thank you.
Jabari.
Yeah, I think this month has been at least packed for me. Normally, like 3 events in a month is like a lot, and we definitely met that. Besides that, we're like constantly talking about things behind the scenes of like what to do next, how to make sure that we have events like just talked about like further in advance. So I think that we're really building momentum and that, there's already been so much work that's been put in from everyone who's been working on this team before I like kind of swooped in. But we're finally able to like see all of that, like finally get more momentum and more eyes on it, which I'm really excited for. And I really hope that, everyone who's watching is able to see in the next couple of months.
For sure. Well said, both of you. Thank you for joining me. I want to quickly plug our upcoming DC Decoded episodes before taking us out. We have 4 more in the ringer. We have Victor Shiloh, our own Liel Zeno, and we also have Allison Shapira and Cameron Powell. These names should have hopefully some familiarity with our DC community, but feel free to search them up as well. Also include their LinkedIn's in the bio, but had great conversations with all of those people and excited to put those episodes out as well. This was our latest recap for DC Decoded. If you are watching or listening on Substack, please consider liking, subscribing, and if you can, recommending us. It really helps us reach new people and it's completely free to do. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, please give us a rating, give us a like, and any feedback is welcome and we'll include a way for you to give feedback in the Substack as well. But until then, thank you for joining. Please follow us on our Substack and also our Luma page, LUMA, for the upcoming events. And we have another Notion event locked in for end of July. And until the next recaps or event, we'll see you there. So thank you for joining.